Hello to the chicos and the chicas. Today marks the day when we launch a new series on my YouTube channel, and this series is one that I am super excited about and I have been preparing for a fair while. So today is the day. What we are going to do is that we are going to begin a collaboration with Grandmaster Peter Wells. Pete is an English grandmaster, a coaching extraordinaire, several times captain and coach of English teams at various chess Olympiads, both men and women, by the way. Also the second of many notable English grandmasters. Just really a superb human and a very cool chess coach, someone that I really look up to. And in that regard, this is gonna be a series where I am both a trainer and a trainee, a new role for me also to embrace, but I'm super excited to get this underway. And so today we are going to kick off with that. The first video is going to be, and in fact I think the first few videos are going to showcase some of Pete's best games from the time when he was still very active and playing lots of games. We are going to analyze, unpack these games and see what we can learn. So without further ado, all right, so back to the next game. So you said John Emms, and you were talking about some positional and tactical elements. So it's not for me, basically, because it's too deep.
I hope it's sort of. Yeah, I mean, I find this opening I find quite interesting anyway. Positional elements and the game sort of I liked it because it sort of features three separate sacrifices in one game, which is kind of nice. And you can see them as primarily tactical, dynamic, or positional according to how you view it. But it was a knockout event, which was quite fun, but not something I've done that often.
But chess, yeah,
And
just for the record.
Sorry, was it?
But chess nonetheless. So not boxing of any kind.
No, not no chess knockout, absolutely.
Right. Okay.
And it was annoying because I won this nice game and then I lost the game in the afternoon and lost the playoff. So he ultimately prevailed in this one, but the game, it's probably one of my very favourites. So let's have a look.
Am I reading the title correctly? That it's Red Bus Knockout.
Yes, that's right. From the turn of the century.
Right.
Yeah, there were a few of these Red Bus knockouts. I don't think I shone particularly in any of them, but I played some nice games.
Excuse my ignorance. What is Red Bus?
Ah, you're asking about something from 25 years ago. I think it was the sponsor of the tournament, but I think it's the only thing they sponsored, and I can't remember who they were.
Okay.
Which is very.
Oh, good.
I would have known at the time. I do try and figure out who's sponsoring tournaments at the time, but yeah.
I thought it was some obscure reference to the London double-decker.
I don't think so, but it's a nice thought.
Go on.
Okay, so yeah, I used to play quiet openings and sometimes and then try and liven them up after. This move order is interesting because it was sort of been controversial over the years. This move order, black, I think. You can see what I think you can sort of describe it as black. What black most wants to do is if he's going to end up in some kind of G3, G6 symmetrical English kind of thing, then you want to have options for your king's knight other than F6. I think that's what motivates this move order.
Right.
And the other thing to say, if I go back to C4, if black plays G6 immediately, then they may have to play all kinds of Maroczy bind type things, which by playing knight C6 first, now if white played D4, black would have various options where to put the pieces still. And after knight C3, G6, it's too late to play with D4 because this is not the position you want. Because, okay, you could play to C2 perhaps, but that's a bit controversial as well. Otherwise, you can't play bishop E3 here because you haven't played E4 yet, kind of thing. So I think that's why black, because when you get an opening where white has quite challenging things. Oh God, I've got all the notes in there. That wasn't my intention. Okay. Yeah. So the downside of the move order was supposed to be that if white played E3 and D4, then they can quickly attack the knight on C6, which doesn't have very clever places to go. Yeah, is that?
Yeah. E3 was the move I anticipated.
Yeah, E3 was played. And then if black carries on with bishop G7, as I say, white plays D4 and it's not White's going to play d5 soon, and although White will ultimately lose a tempo pushing the e-pawn to e4 probably, Black may lose a bunch of tempi along the way here. It's not even clear what the next couple of moves are likely to be.
Right.
So as soon as you play knight f6, the knight will get kicked somewhere it doesn't want to go.
Yep.
So Black tends to play knight f6, and then it starts to look like a sort of Karakan-Panov type business after d4.
Yeah, take
Black
d5.
exchanges and plays d5. Yeah. So, again, so if you think about the g6, immediate g6 variation in the Panov, we've basically got knight f3 and knight c6 thrown in, and Black's problem is that knight c6 may become vulnerable to some fairly direct action in the centre.
Yep.
So White takes and hits this knight with queen b3.
Yep, this is all standard theory, right?
All standard, but quite sort of interesting in itself. Now, Black seems to go e6 here, which strikes me as a sort of sign of...
So isn't there an idea here that if they take on c3, you don't take back, but you play bishop c4? That rings a bell that I played this with White a number of times.
That's exactly it. Yeah, that's how the game went.
Yeah.
Yeah, now they've started playing e6, which strikes me as a little bit less interesting in some ways. But after something like bishop b5 or something, I can still see that White has chances to make something. So Black takes on c3, which was automatic at the time this game was played. And yeah, if White just takes back on c3, Black will play bishop g7, castle, and then have what feels like a pretty comfortable kind of Grunfeld structure where White's queen is a bit weird on b3.
Yeah, I would almost prefer Black in those positions.
Yeah, well, that's kind of... I was trying to find a polite way of saying that, yeah. So bishop to c4 is the entire point, really, to... Yeah, a little... Oh, it's nice of it to give me an exclamation mark. So we're hitting f7. The knight doesn't have time to retreat. If it goes to e4, it would be lost to bishop takes f7 and queen e6 check.
Allow me to play that out quickly for the audience. So check and pick off the hoppity while the king is going for an unwanted excursion.
Yeah.
Okay. And typically he knight d5. I remember Aronian played a very famous game not so long ago in this.
Yeah, I mean, Black has two moves here. They used to go in the old days. They used to go e6.
Yeah,
Aronian.
Aronian's opponent. I don't remember who it was. They played knight d5. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I mean sorry, knight d5 is the game, but e6 is okay. They used to do this when I was a kid, and they it seems very strange that people used to go bishop g7, bishop a3, bishop f8, which strikes me as just a rather bizarre. Bishop d7 always felt to me like it might be a playable move here, but I know there's some pretty sharp theory which I don't remember now, but I probably had some idea about at the time I played. I'm feeling Nigel might have played this in his youth sometime.
I'm really trying to think, Pete, about how this Aronian game went. The point was, actually I stand corrected, it was this line. It was e6 takes, and he played some really weird idea of provoking bishop d7 and then sliding back the bishop to d3.
Okay.
Like, I'm trying to understand why he didn't go back right away. He provoked something with a bishop move, and then he slid back to d3. I will look up this game.
I mean, given that the bishop's on prise on d3, I guess if you go back immediately, Black might have some e5 related ideas at some point. I mean, I can sort of see how it could be helpful to put the bishop on d7, but it also feels like then Black can start thinking about the c4 square if the bishop's on d. I don't know. I don't remember the game you're talking about, but I can sort of imagine why.
Yeah, I have a very, very strong memory of seeing this from Aronian being White and winning a very nice game. But yeah, our audience will find it. All right, back to you.
Right, so he went for what by the time we played had already become the main line, to play knight d5 instead of e6 immediately, getting a completely different pawn structure. So obviously I have to take, and now he plays e6, and now I'm pretty much obliged to take on c6 to make sense of. Otherwise he's going to have a lot of pressure on d4.
Yep.
So we get this interesting structure. I don't know. One of the things that I don't know what you think about this. I always, people classify openings in lots of different ways, kind of solid or aggressive or strategic or dynamic or whatever. It always seems to me like one of the most helpful ways to classify openings is in terms of whether the plans are kind of reasonably automatic or whether you have to think and find them yourself. And
Yeah.
this feels to me like a position with fairly clear-cut plans. Like black definitely would, if they get any chance, love to activate the bishop pair by playing c5 at some point.
Mm-hmm.
White's first job is probably to avoid that. White would love to trade dark squared bishops because of all those juicy dark squares in black's position. It feels to me like a position with very, very clear-cut plans.
Yep.
And I'm not even sure now what I think of it. At the time, I thought I was sort of pleased to get this, partly because I'd prepared it, and partly because I kind of believed White's position at the time. Okay, so White castles and Black plays Queen d5, which is logical.
I was about
to
to.
Be some position.
Yes, yes. I was about to say that this Queen d5 is the move that always annoyed me in this setup. And to quote another legendary English grandmaster, Simon Williams, usually calls this type of piece. He compares it to a chewing gum in someone's hair, that it very neatly holds everything together. And that's what the queen does on d5. That it just defends everything, difficult to kick. It's a pain. So if you know how to dislodge this guy or overcome its sturdy defensive effect, I think you are en route to victory.
Okay, so I mean, do I get from this that you quite like Black's position?
No, on the contrary. No, I'm a believer of the White's position. I just never really managed to get as much out of these positions as I thought I should have been able to.
Right, okay.
No, on the contrary, I very much believe that White has to have a slight edge at the very least here. But at times I was challenged to prove it, mostly in Blitzstone.
I mean, I enjoyed playing White in this game, and I kind of think I sort of believe White's position here, but I think it requires pretty careful handling. I actually, some years later, when I was captaining the England team, I managed to persuade Nigel to play this with the black pieces.
Oh la la!
And he played this in an Olympiad against, I forget, one of the Romanian players, maybe Parligras or something like that, and won quite nicely. I think that if White doesn't kind of clamp down on Black's c5 and various other, which obviously White tried to do, I think it's very easy to get this wrong with White. Quite possible to. I played this once in a rapid game with Black as well myself, so I'm not sort of I'm not hugely partisan in this position.
Yeah, I see.
I think it's just very interesting, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think the move I played next, I no longer think is the best move. It looks very natural, but I think if you understand how Black's planning to develop, then probably it's not quite the right square. So I now think the best moves are probably either maybe Bishop G5, trying to, get involved with these dark squares immediately, or perhaps just very directly Bishop E3, already working to try and stop C5, and then possibly some idea to play Knight D2, perhaps F3 to give the knight a square, and just concentrate initially on stopping C5 at all costs.
I would like to butt in here because I'm pretty sure that when people of lower levels, and I'm not saying it in a condescending way, see you displaying all these ideas for White, they're going like, but hang on a second, like, what if they take here and they do doubles on us?
No, I mean, actually, that's a very valid question, and I think at the time, I had certainly checked Queen takes B3 against the move I ended up playing. I think White's got more weaknesses to hit than Black here, because I think C6 and A7 are probably even more vulnerable than B3, but I take the point. I mean, you often take these kind of double pawns, but these are doubled and isolated and on an open file. So actually the engine has Queen takes B3 as one of its favoured moves after Bishop E3. I think I'd still take White for the pressure on C6 and A7, but like I say, I'm not a huge partisan here. I think the Black position is playable with careful handling for sure. But you can imagine, you're going to get them here. You're going to get the move Knight E5. you're going to get rook fc1. The rook is already... when you take on b3, the rook on the a file becomes already developed.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. Yeah.
So
I would never take b3 with black here.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that the engine thinks it's one of the best moves, but... Yeah.
Despite that, I
Anyway,
wouldn't take. Anyway, what did you do?
Back in the day, I f4. Which struck me as I mean, okay, so white would love to change dark square bishop.
Yes, you're angling for
Dark
this.
square weakness, I mean, that's reasonably clear. Black's development setup is almost certainly to take the e5 square very seriously and play the pawn to f6 at some point.
Yeah.
And the bishop is therefore more likely to end up on e7 than on g7 for all these reasons. Like, for example, bishop g7, I would probably immediately want to play with the queens on the board and play something like queen e3 with the idea of bishop h6 or something.
Yep.
And black's going to find it somewhat problematic to keep that bishop on. For example, they couldn't castle now because bishop h6 would exchange it immediately.
Yeah, this looks very sweet. That's a beautiful idea that I didn't even see immediately. That so queen e3.
b7. The engine actually likes f6 immediately. He went bishop b7, but it's also fine with that. It's similar. Rook fc1.
Okay, hold the fort. Oh yeah, okay. So obviously you are doing rook f to c1 because we are still anticipating a potential queen trade.
Exactly. Any time queen b3 happens, I want my rook developed on the a
file. Yep.
And now he played f6, which is a good move. I think it's exactly the right idea. I think if he doesn't compete for these squares, he will regret it.
Can I butt in quickly here for something? Oh man, I wish I had spoken before you played it. I was about to say that one... No, don't be silly. One plan that always annoyed me with the white pieces here for black was the quite clearly pending march of the kingside pawns, trying to soften up my light squares, especially since they do have a light squared bishop, and then things can get quite gnarly.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I would take g5 pretty seriously in this position. It's sort of...
Well, clearly you have.
Well, I did take it very seriously. I still would. I did. I mean, it sort of works in terms of when black puts pawns on dark squares, he's enhancing the bishop, which white doesn't have the counterpart of, right? The c8 one. And white needs to be a little bit careful about that in general terms. And specifically, my king feels a little uncomfortable if I allow g5 here, I think.
So let me get this straight, Pete. So if you go h4...
which I did.
Yeah, which you did. So if I insist on h6, g5, then I guess the idea is that you're never going to engage. You just pull back. And then if g4 comes, then it's not that bad because the h-pawns can no longer come further down, black's h-pawn. And so the king side remains somewhat securely locked up. Is that roughly the gist?
There are two parts to my answer. One is that that's probably true. But the second part to my answer is I can't remember whether the move h6 even crossed my mind. But my first tentative response to h6 is that queen c2 might be a double attack. But if you were going to tell me that if I take on c6...
Yeah, I was about to say that I blundered it, but I will turn it into a sack.
That's going to be compensation. If that's compensation, I might believe you, yeah. That could be compensation. Oh, you're doing it. You're not even taking. You're just...
Oh, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I could.
That's compensation. I buy into that completely. That's compensation, yeah.
So I just pulled off the classic Odorian here. So Grandmaster Odorian, my coach Hazai told me this, that Odorian was notoriously famous for constantly blundering in analysis and always turning out to be correct. Like somehow his blunders, like the way I just blundered here, the double attack on these two pawns, which is a fabulous tactic, by the way. He would always blunder into these things and then find some dynamic responses that in hindsight turned his ideas correct. Like he was almost hated by his colleagues for his constantly, but only in analysis, never in games, right? Like he was quite thorough and meticulous in games, but in analysis he would regularly hang stuff like this, and it would turn out to be a stroke of a genius.
Yeah, no, I can believe it. That's nice.
Mind you, the guy was a genius, no question. Anyway,
Yes.
back to you. So okay, h6 was not on the radar of those who care for pawns, and I respect those very much.
Yeah, I was just wondering. I was just thinking about h6, queen c2, king f7, h5. Whether that's an interesting idea.
Hey, you don't let me get off the hook so easily, but can I just take and return to the crime of the...
Oh, you can. Oh no, then I'm going to take and go rook c7, and I think that will be very interesting for white.
I mean, I don't really think I have a choice there, do I? Because my rook is hanging, so after queen c6...
Well, I don't know. I was struggling to find a killer after g5, queen g6, check, king f8. Actually,
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
But it's very principled. I mean, you're threatening to go bishop d7, bishop e8, and kind of. I actually need to show something here. Knight, bishop e5. That will be a good move.
Oh, look at you go.
That's a good move.
Now you're bringing on the sexy. That's a boomski.
Yeah, that's a boomski. I'll buy that one.
That is definitely a boomski. You totally saw this way before you called h5.
No, I didn't. I just found it then.
No, I'm kidding.
But queen take, yeah. But this one, I had a similar idea, a slightly similar idea, where the king 7 taking the queen and going rook c7. I have one of those in a moment, and I think this one will be a good one too. Cause just dynamically, rook e1 and bishop d6 and things are quite menacing, I think.
Is it though? Like, I mean, I don't mean to be contrarian, and I think like I would take white here any day of the week, but I feel like I have got bishop e6, rook fc8 coming to trade at least a pair of rooks. Unless I'm okay, so bishop e6 you want bishop d6 and then rook here.
Rook e8, rook e1 maybe.
And then rook c1, and then all of a sudden I'm tied in every which way. No, you're correct. Yep, no. Okay. Yep. So probably that's why Emms played bishop d7, right?
More likely because h6 didn't cross his mind either. I don't know. Yeah, bishop d7. So my idea here. Sorry, same as what I was just showing, but I thought it was quite well. There's a little extra. After king f7, if he'd played king f7,
You want to take?
I was actually intending to take. I want to take, and specifically in this position, I don't only have bishop d6 in mind, but also g4 to
g5. Yeah. Oh, that is
positionally that's quite a nice way to go.
That is a chef's kiss way to demonstrate how good chess players can think of weak squares when there is none to be seen. But you already visualize e5 to be a beautiful outpost for your horse after the pawn push g4, g5. Very, very nice stuff. Oh yeah. That is positional chess at its finest. Very good stuff.
Very kind. Just like no one's ever said I'm a legend. No one's ever said I do positional chess at its finest. But thank you for that.
No.
So that was a nice thought. So bishop d7. I think he had worked with similar ideas. Now I don't know whether what I did next was right, but if I hadn't done it, I almost certainly wouldn't have won such a nice game. You realise sometimes that when you're playing through game, you realise that if you played the super accurate move, the game would have been far less fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking about what can we hang.
Queen e3, it felt to me like the moment to keep queens on.
Rational.
I think my plan is just to double on the c-file and keep preventing pawn to c5, and I may have already had it in mind something similar to the idea I got in the game, but I think black can probably defend better. So he castled, and maybe king f7 is an improvement.
Oh, castles wouldn't have occurred to me.
Excuse me, sorry, he didn't castle. He
I noticed.
Sorry, castles didn't occur to you, yeah?
No, I would always go king f7 rather than castle because I feel like that rook is needed sometimes for the defense.
No, I think you're right. I mean, after king f7, we get the position, which is the reason why if I played this again, I would probably put my bishop on e3 rather than f4. I mean, I think it's about equal. I don't think I'm in any danger of being worse or something, but I don't think it's that convincing as I thought it was at the time. King f7 would have been much better. So rook c3, yeah, castles. So yeah, king f7 I think would have held his position together better, and as we'll see later on, the king side involved less risk. Okay, so sacrifice number 1. Probably it shouldn't really be seen as a sacrifice because probably he shouldn't really consider taking it. But after, oh sorry, bishop h6 first. And again, I thought the rook should go to d8.
Yep, I second that notion. He went
he put it on e8.
e8.
I always assumed rook e8 was a serious mistake, but actually the engine is now relatively indifferent between the two. It thinks both are fine. Both are a little better for white, but not much difference between them. Now, sorry, first sacrifice rook a to c1.
I don't see how that's a sack, but you will enlighten me. I mean, rook c5 is coming, right? For sure.
Well, he took. I'm threatening b.
Oh my god! See, I'm so oblivious to side pawn. They don't count as sacrifice, Pete. Not in my household.
What, the a pawn?
Yeah, that's.
Okay.
You're
only going to give me two.
I occasionally knock it down with my elbow when I play and forget to put it back. It's fine.
But he took it. I mean.
No, I'm totally joking. Like, I just blundered. So I'm trying to save face here. No, totally nice.
Okay, but I sort of think he probably shouldn't take it. But on the other hand, now I've fully stopped c5, or fairly fully stopped. Maybe he should sack a pawn with c5 is possible. And if he plays some e5, he could argue. But I think that my rooks are still flexibly enough placed to cope with that.
Yeah, I think so.
But taking the a pawn, I think, is a bit risky.
Yeah, it does look fishy.
Yeah. Okay, so now I decided I was going to pretend to attack on the king side.
So knight e5 or g5? Oh, no, not yet, because bishop f8 is still on. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah. And now the queen returned.
Ah, okay. Now I can see the outline of some ideas here, I think.
Okay, what have you got? What have you got for me?
Well, I would be bitterly disappointed in you if rook c5 was not part of the operation.
Exactly. Okay. You know I like my exchange sacrifices.
Yes, we all do.
I took this first.
Yeah, if that's fair.
c5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, which he pretty much has to take, otherwise he's allowed this for no good reason. And queen d6.
But I feel like there's more sacks to come here in order to prove that this is correct.
Yeah, I mean, you still need to. I mean, it sort of looks aesthetically pleasing, but you still need to show that it works.
I mean, queen e4. Queen e4 is a sexy move just to provoke f5, but I guess there's. I would look at queen e4, which obviously is not the move because if we are not sacking, why are we even here, right?
No, queen e4 is sensible. I mean, provoking f5 is very sensible, but I did it via d3 because if he does play f5, I want the tempo.
Oh, I wanted to then.
Oh, you wanted to swing to h4.
H4, yeah. I thought that was.
If he plays f5, I'm kind of happy to go to e5 and then have queen g3 and queen h3 on the. I mean, it's kind of nice to be able to put the knight in straight away, I think.
Which is probably a better way to go than what I try to do, of course. Yes, wow.
I think f5's a move he really wants to avoid. So both.
Oh yeah, no, that's definitely terminal. So what did he go? King f7.
And king h7.
Rook h5.
Rook h5 is a nice touch.
Yeah, rook h5. I saw that. For a change, I did see that.
There's no square for his queen, which saves her, which is a nice touch. Like, I can discover check anywhere, I think, to win the queen.
That is very neat, though. I love that.
She has no safe white square on the board. It's kind of cute.
Yeah, that's unusual.
So,
wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So king f7 it has to be.
Now hold on a second, because there is a lot going on here. Like, rook g5 is a move here.
Nice. Rook g8?
That's where I got stuck a little bit, and I thought maybe knight e5 and fe and then queen f3, but then I'm chasing the king to safety. Or am I?
Well, maybe you should do it. Maybe that's an idea without rook g5 thrown in, because...
Oh yeah, we mean knight e5 right away?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, because then bishop g5 is mate. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Knight g5 is also good, but knight e5...
Yeah, knight e5, fe, queen f3, king g8, and then queen f6 looks terminal.
Yeah, this is the game. So takes, queen f3, king e7 is mate. bishop g5, which is a nice touch.
That is beautiful, Pete. That is absolutely beautiful.
His pieces are not doing his king any favours there, really. And so he went king to g8. Whoops. As you say, queen f6. So queen e7 would be, I'd take on g6 and probably just play bishop g5. I think that's the simplest.
Yeah.
So he has to try rook e7.
Rook e7, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Takes. And now I think the quickest apparently is something like rook c3. But that was beyond me.
Bit of a detour. Yeah.
That was kind of a bit beyond me. But what I like, I mean, what I did wasn't quite as good technically, but what I like about it is it reaches a position where he might have defensive chances if he wasn't a piece up, which is sort of, which appealed to me. So here he obviously king g8, now rook c3 really is a very strong. So king h7, and now I just took back some material.
Oh, how uncharacteristic of you.
Yeah, it's very outrageous, really. But this position I find quite funny, because if he could use the d7 square, he might be able to fight on, but he's got this annoying extra piece, which...
Wow, that is insanely beautiful. That is brilliant. So no rook d7 to be had, brother, to undo the pin. And of course the queen can't move because of check. Oh, this is sadism, Pete. This should have been reported to the authorities. Ay.
So he tried to wriggle with his extra piece, but obviously the rook c3 is now very serious.
Oh, and then some.
Yeah, and that's basically it.
Okay, well,
that's the end.
We can finish the mate here with the queen here, and then Matutski.
Yeah, Matutski indeed.
Ay. That was a belter of a game. A banger.
I'm kind of fond of that one because it's sort of a bit of strategic stuff going on before all the wild things.
This is what I like to call total chess, in the spirit of I think it was called total football. That's not the right word. The Dutch football team in the 70s played this.
The Cruyff people.
Yeah, Cruyff, yeah. So when all 11 of them were attacking when it was attack, and all 11 of them were defending when it was defend, and they just, I think they called it total football, but I may be wrong. And I love to use that analogy in chess, when you manage to somehow blend together positional finesse and tactical, flourish into one game. That always feels the best.
Yeah, I kind of like that. Yeah. Finesse might be a bit much, but yeah.
Oh, come on! At the very least, finesse.
Yeah, it was a nice day. It was a very satisfying game in many ways.
Brilliant.
I think I told you the other day that John Emms is the player who once laughed at one of my moves because he just couldn't contain himself at how awful it was. But he is a lovely and very sporting opponent I've played many times. And,
right. I'm sure that he would have acknowledged the masterful performance by you here.
Well, I think he acknowledged it later, but he was too dedicated to the task of beating me in the afternoon before.
Oh yeah, you told me so. Yeah, right.
Yeah. You don't say anything nice to your opponent when you're playing them again in a couple of hours.
Fair enough. Right, that was a banger.